Welcome home, dear friend. How long we've all been waiting. Let's create a masterpiece. Breathe life into your dreams. All you gotta do is start up the machine. I'm the product of an artist whose creations bring the light. Upon this somber threshold, imagination comes to life. Just free yourself from reason, soon you'll see in black and white. Call me a seed of evil, but what's that mean if I'm conceived within your mind? Leaking from the ceiling, ink is bleeding through the lines. Is that your heart that's beating, or illusion you're alive? Collect what's necessary, keep appeasing the divines. It's me you should be believing, cause he's deceiving you with lies. Holy conniption, has it been 30 years? It appears Mickey Mouse might have been murdered here. With pie-cut eyes I have learned to fear. Kinda reminds me why I quit working here. Why did I come? Let me go home, I should be leaving. Whatever happened, don't wanna know. What did these demons? No, guess if I gotta be stuck here, then I might as well investigate. Secrets are unlocking, but too bad the exit ain't. Like this mask of happiness, I drown in dark despair. The world may be your canvas, what you paint on it, beware. The pen is mightier than the sword, it has no limitation. Don't refrain, this ink will stain and nothing can erase us now. Can you describe the face you saw? Could it be one recognized? We'd never harm the hand that draws. Imagination cursed us all with life. Shamed and defaced, scathed and disgraced, tainted by hatred and can't be erased. Creators betrayed us, we've got it on tape. We've written your fate and it can't be erased. I was not always a monster, once I was somebody's muse. Innovation made us stronger, but that power was abused. The machine is thumping and the ink is pumping. Now you need to run because the demon's coming. I need help, someone send a telegram. I'm surrounded by upside down pentagrams. I don't have a guide, just a little bit of candlelight with an axe that I don't know how to handle right. The little devil darling's on a lot of reels. Long as he's on one, he cannot be real. Stop the projectors, Bendy's off his reel. Got a feeling he and Joey got a deal. An unholy bargain, a demonic seal, with a master plan that I must reveal. Won't be long till this ink's all congealed upon my body, head to toe all concealed. But a little bit of bleach should do the trick. I'll never watch another damn cartoon, I quit. Look at you, you're scared of a moving pen. Hey Bendy, how'd you get the tutu to fit? I'm blinded by this evil growing. My heart is full of people loving, with secrets that I keep from showing. I am the wolf in sheepish clothing. Cut the shop with ink of flowing, push it to the brink of blowing. We hope you don't think of going, weigh you down and keep from floating. Come with me, won't bring you Joey. You'll be kept from being lonely. Kicking, screaming, sinking slowly. Give your soul, it's what you owe me. Shamed and defaced, scathed and disgraced, tainted by hatred and can't be erased. Creators betrayed us, we've got it on tape. We've written your fate and it can't be erased.
That was JT Music's Can't Be Erased, a song based around the gloriously creepy Bendy and the Ink Machine. And I am the Master of Disaster, the Lord of Darkness, the thing best left unspoken, the ghost of Great West Road, the monster in your closet, the beast that has your number, and Radio Sega's very own Pumpkin King Kevin, welcoming you to a special Halloween edition of Radio Redux. Yes, it's only been a week since our last show. Wow. But, you know, when presented with the opportunity to actually do a show that goes out on Halloween itself, I'm not going to turn down that opportunity. I think we've had like a handful, like I think probably 2 Halloween shows prior to this, and apart from the pre-recorded ones back in the day, I think the Raven Home ones, I'm reasonably certain that none of them have gone out. And certainly none of the live era ones, none of those went out on Halloween itself. So it's a lovely opportunity, with it being a Sunday, let's go for it. So yeah, not going to turn down that opportunity. In fact, I've got quite a little playlist for you here, full of surprises. So much that it's actually not a very little playlist at all. In fact, it's quite a big one. And if you're all very good little ghouls and boys, you might have a second Trixie treat in a couple of weeks' time. If not, maybe sooner. Who knows? For now, though, let's get on with things, shall we? And before we get into some of the various discussion topics that I'm sure I'll get to over the last week, there is the matter of, shall we say, the obvious track to play on a Sega radio station at Halloween. So, let's get that out of the way now. But, in a way you might well have forgotten.
And we're at Pumpkin Hill, you ready? I ain't gon' let it get to me, I'm just gon' creep down in Pumpkin Hill, I got to find my lost piece. I know that it's here, I can sense it in my feet. The great emerald's power allows me to feel. I can't see a thing, but it's around somewhere. I'm gonna hold my head, cause I have no fear. This probably seems crazy, a graveyard theory. Our ghosts try to approach me and got leery. Ask him a question and he vanished in a second. I'm walking through valleys, crying pumpkins in the alley. Didn't seem happy, but they sure tried to get me. Had to back him up with a fist, metal crack him. I'm hearing someone saying, you a chicken, don't be scared. It had to be the wind, cause nobody wasn't there. I searched and I searched as I climbed up the wall. And then I started to fly, I went in deeper. Let it get to me, I'm just gon' creep down Pumpkin Hill, I got to find my lost piece. I know that it's here, I sense it in my feet. The great emerald's power allows me to feel. I can't see a thing, but it's around somewhere. I gotta hold my head, I have no fear. It probably seemed crazy, a graveyard theory. A ghost tried to approach me, he got leery. This is Knuckles, I fears none.
That was the 2019 remix of Ghost Pumpkin Soup by, well, it was the Sonic YouTube channel from Japan that technically put that out, I believe. It was the Sega and all the Sonic one. And to be honest, it was one of those things that when it came out, I was like, thank you. Because it was... I was trying to get them to do stuff like that for ages. It's like, hey, you know, we've got like this themed music. Why don't you guys do a remix or something? And all it took was a decade, but they eventually got there, I'm pleased to say. And that's a really nice remix. little bit lo-fi, a little bit chill, a bit more chill than even the original one. But yes, of course, we would have to have a Ghost Pumpkin Soup for Pumpkin Hill from Sonic Adventure 2 there. There is all sorts coming up on the show. In fact, we've got a little bit of a back-to-back music treat for you now. With 2 games that couldn't be more different if you tried. So, naturally, it's Halloween. It's, pumpkin spice and all things nice. And because of that, we should bring people together to celebrate. Just things, people and things that would never mix normally. Things like, I don't know, Doki Doki Literature Club and, say, Club Penguin.
on iTunes, Spotify, and Radio Sega. You're listening to Radio Redux.
Indeed you are. And if you are listening to us via one of those methods, or even if not, if you're listening to this on Last Minute Continue directly, or you're listening to this as it goes out and premieres on Radio Sega, why not head over? Why not head over to likes of our record on iTunes, the record on Spotify or Amazon Music or Audible. We're on Audible, for God's sake. And, drop us a nice review. Go, give us a 5-star review. Go on, you want to. And if you do, who knows? I might have a competition or two in the weeks to come before the end of the year. There might be a few more surprises on Radio Redux coming your way. But that is a matter for another day. But go on, you want to. It's been around for ages. I'm sick and tired of seeing reviews from 2014. Let's get something with the third digit on the year being 2, shall we? That would be fantastic. But yes, always good, always fun. And that was indeed Doki Doki Literature Club, followed by Club Penguin. Yes, I did it. Because I am a horrible person. And, I mean, you never consider those being brought together on a radio show, let alone one broadcast on Radio Sega. But there you go. That was Sayo-nara, first of all, from Doki Doki Literature Club. And that was followed up by the 2008 Halloween Party theme, or the Outdoors theme from the Halloween Party 2008, from Club Penguin. Yes, that was indeed a thing. What a horrific combination. Speaking of horrific combinations, do you see what I did there? There is the distinct matter of the horrific combination, apparently, of Nintendo 64 and Nintendo Switch. Well, you know what it says about, talent skips a generation or so. I don't know, but for some reason, there's about 4 generations or something stupid, isn't there, between Nintendo 64 as generation, and you've got GameCube, Wii U, and we're on Switch. So there's 3 generations between those two. And yes, it's all a bit of a mess what they've done with it, because if you've been living under a rock for the last however long, the expanded online presence for Nintendo Switch has come out. You have the opportunity to give Nintendo even more of your money for games that you used to like once upon a time in the 90s. So the Nintendo 64 games have come out, and yeah, they look awful. No, really, it's bad. I honestly don't know how they've managed to do this. But yeah, the emulation quality from Nintendo 64 games, at least on the Switch, it's really poor. And that's putting it mildly. There's been lots of various things shown in terms of the texture downgrades and what have you. And ultimately, and this is the thing always that we say, if you're going to do something officially, make sure it is better than the unofficial one that the fans have already produced. Because there are N64 emulators that can run on Switch that work better than this. How many times have we got to say that, games companies, before you understand? Don't even bother doing it unless you can do it better. And you should be able to do it better, because you're the ones who created the flipping things in the first place. Right? But yes, there was the latest bundle of features for the online subscription. So you had Nintendo 64 and Sega Mega Drive / Genesis games via the expansion pack. Which I kind of like that the N64 games were in the expansion pack. Do you remember sticking that expansion pack thing into your N64? Putting that horrible black and red bit of plastic. You got to prise open the little port on the top. where you thought batteries went, but actually it's this to make the N64 work better. Oh boy. But there was the big one was obviously the situation of Ocarina of Time, and the one that everyone liked to focus on quite a lot was the boss battle in Water Temple versus Dark Link, when you go into the room and then there's the building in the distance. It's all foggy, and then there's water. There's like a very thin water presence in front of you, and you go and you meet Dark Link and you battle him. And then, of course, you sit down at a table in a bar afterwards with other various Nintendo characters, and you say, "How was your week?" "Oh, I met a dark incarnation of myself." Oh, you had to fight him, I suppose." "Yeah, I had to fight him." "God." Samus turns around and goes, "Yeah, I know that sort. I had to do that last week." "You had to do that last week?" "Yeah. All these dark doppelgangers going around all over the place." "Tell me about it," says Kid Icarus as he downs a beer. It's just all the bloody same. Oh dear. But the point is, if you look in comparison that was shown, the emulated one on the Switch, the building looks like it's been done in paint for some reason. All of a sudden now there's no fog effect whatsoever. The water looks, that's the thing that gets me when you look at the water texture in this room. It looks worse than stuff we had at the beginning of the generation before. There are games on the early SNES and late NES which has produced a more realistic looking water effect than this. It's terrible. It's bad, and there's been some, naturally enough, there's some white knights have come to the fore. We've had some defensive work happen, and some, let's say, very creative mental gymnastics in order to justify why this is. And perhaps the best one is, again, Ocarina of Time's got a noticeable input lag, apparently. The game's producer, who's a gentleman by the name of John Reisenbach, went on Twitter and said that the whole fog-free look, I'm reading this from The Verge here, this whole fog-free look is much more akin to the Japanese version of Zelda Ocarina of Time. And he said, "This likely won't matter to the people who have already written news articles and made up their minds about this, but that last screenshot is how the Japanese Ocarina's water has always looked. The Japanese Ocarina of Time version has always looked." Unfortunately, oh dear. Unfortunately, the Twitter account that put this up then went on to confirm that both images, the before and after, were in fact Japanese versions of Ocarina of Time, both of them, and both games were running on the Wii U and Switch respectively. While, they're similar, but there's a very, very big difference in terms of quality that swings wildly in favour of the Wii U. So, yeah, it's not very good. Yeah, there's been all sorts of various things. It's lovely that you can do that, and of course the controllers are out, the N64 controllers that you can use, and the Sega Genesis. The absolute weirdness of Nintendo selling a Sega Genesis controller, both legally branded, everything all tied up nicely. Thank you very much indeed. The sheer concept of Nintendo selling Nintendo selling Sega hardware for its Nintendo console is just absolutely mind-blowing. but not nearly as mind-blowing as paying $19.99 a year for yourself, or $34.99 a year for the entire family, to get the actual just Nintendo and Super Nintendo games, and then presenting another $30 as an individual, or $45 for up to a family of 8, which will end up being all your mates, probably. Oh yes, he's my brother, he just lives in another continent. What about them? Oh, that's my sister, she's 90. I mean, look, she's more honorary, yeah, you know. If you want, that's the expansion pack. So if you want to spend that amount of money for classic, I will say, as somebody who has it, if you have a Switch, getting the classic games from on the just general online subscription, so you've got the SNES stuff, that's wonderful. It's lovely. Oh, and unfortunately, both Nintendo 64 and Genesis controllers are indeed currently sold out. They went boom. But of course, we don't really want those, really. No, we don't really want those, really. We just want the GameCube controller. That's all we want. Just for every single console from now on, just make the GameCube controller. I still don't understand why. Well, I say I still don't understand. Because of obviously Wii and Wii U's mechanics. Understandable, but the GameCube controller should basically be the PS, you know, the DualShock design, or the equivalent of the Xbox controller design at this point. It should just be the standard, which is slightly refined every generation at this point, because it's just too damn good, the GameCube controller. Anyway, where were we? Halloween. Oh yes. So, what is up next in our little bucket of misery and music? We have music from a game which I said I would play on a Twitch stream last night. There's a fantastic little game called Pumpkin Jack, which young Miss Fennecu was playing at twitch.tv/Fennecu. To check out her adventures, and the music was really good, and the fact there was like a chase sequence which was like a spooky walk version of Ride of the Valkyries. So you did like a minecart section to Ride of the Valkyries around. In fact, I actually said to her that I wondered if the level was actually called Echidna Hill, because it looked very similar in design in terms of the mine carts and the rail tracks and the various, you know, pillar mountains that you're going to. Looks very similar to Pumpkin Hill, which of course we had music to earlier. But I said I would play music from that. The actual track for that, the Ride of the Valkyries one, which I think is called it's got something like Ride of the Walkyrie or Haunting of the Walkyries or something like that. It's actually quite short. So I've gone with Skeletown. So this is Skeletown from Pumpkin Jack. And after that, we've got some Dishonored. And then, well, hey, you remember Summer of Sonic 2009, right? You remember what Brick Lane was like? Yeah, of course you do. And I'm certain it sounded like the third track.
For 15 years, bringing you the best in video game music. This is Radio Redux.
Are we already 2/3 of the way through the show? That's ridiculous. This is what happens, of course, when have to get everything done in an hour. But, of course, if you're listening on Radio Sega, after this, we go from, yours truly, the Pumpkin King, over to the Queen of the Damned. We have Rexy with a special Sega Mixer Drive. Sega Mixer driving a stake through the heart of Dracula himself. Or not, as the case may be. They might be, good friends. I don't know. I don't check out Bev's Facebook profile that often. I don't know who she's friends with. It's not my business. It's none of yours either. Yeah, I see you. I see you speculating in the Discord. Anyway, that we just had was indeed the track Brick Lane, which of course was the location in London where Summer of Select 2009 was held. Trust me, it is very much not full of zombies. But it's a Brick Lane from ZombiU. Who remembers ZombiU? Literally nobody. Before that was Dishonored with Streets Suspense. We have Dishonored on here. And then, of course, Pumpkin Jack with Skeletown. We have a few tracks, well, I say 4 tracks left I've got here. But I'm hoping I'm going to get through them all in time because, oh boy, it's going to be a push. I'm going to go straight into the next one, actually, and we'll have another story which I want to bring up that came up this week in the news, and I want to have a little chatsy about that, and I'm going to do that after this next track. Now, every time we do a Halloween type show on Radio Redux, naturally enough, it all comes down to Zombies Ate My Neighbours. Because Zombies Ate My Neighbours is one of those one of those games, I should say, that you can get as part of the Nintendo pack, if I remember rightly, on the Switch. At least I think you can. Reasonably sure you can. But anyway, absolute bona fide classic. It did have a somewhat spiritual successor. So we're not going to have music from Zombies Ate My Neighbours, at least on this show. What we're going to have instead is a track from Grabbed by the Ghoulies. This is Skeleton Battle, and afterwards, there's a duck in a top hat with a cane. Yeah. Funny that. Oh, hold it. Grabbed by the Ghoulies was not the successor to Zombies Ate My Neighbours, was it? That was Ghoul Patrol? I think? Yes. Because this is rare and that obviously wasn't. Oh well. What a fantastic modern interpretation of a classic track that was. That was from DuckTales Remastered, and it was Transylvania. Entirely appropriate for today's show. And it leads us on to another potentially scary story, I guess. Depends upon your point of view. But, so, SUMO Digital. Friends of the show, friends of the site. And I do mean both sites, then, LMC and Radio Sega. So, you know how they're not British anymore? You may have missed that one. But it turns out, again, you probably weren't paying attention to this, but they have been bought back in July by the group known as Tencent. It's the Chinese firm, the massive video game company. They own stakes in Riot and Epic Games and Supercell and many, many others. And they bought the SUMO Group as a whole for £919 million. This is after they'd bought a small stake. I think it was like, I say small stake, it's 7% or something like that, of the group back at the big middle of the last year, I think. But whenever it was in July, they announced, "Hey, we are buying the group. We're buying it all out, and it's going to be ours." And this is all your favourites, Little Big Planet, and all that stuff, all going to be coming under Tencent now. But because it's a Chinese firm, and because it's another one of those big expansion companies that are like buying up things left, right and centre, and when you consider how many studios SUMO, quote unquote, have announced as being, as purchasing or founding over the last year, you suddenly realise, hey, hang on a minute, what's going on here? Because Tencent isn't buying those, because Tencent isn't, don't own them yet. But Tencent will own these, and suddenly there's like vast swathes of little studios being swallowed up by what is essentially Tencent. The big thing is that obviously this hasn't been finalised yet, and that is because it has to go through the various committees. There's a committee for foreign investment in the United States. Funnily enough, Tencent buying SUMO, which has American studios in it, America's gone, hang on a minute, especially with how we've got, almost, well, it's not a neo Cold War yet, but we're slowly getting there. So yes, that's not been done. Oh yeah, Krafton, PUBG publisher, right? Tencent owns that as well. So that's a very big thing. Not as big as it was, several years back, but it's still pretty freaking big. There's an awful lot that they own, but America has sort of raised a red flag. Not the Chinese one. But they've raised a red flag and they've gone, hey, maybe don't do that. Or we want to have a little think about this to see if we're going to allow you to do that. So, yeah, that's going to be interesting to see what happens. Because otherwise, China is ever so slowly buying bits of large chunks, shall we say, of the video game structure of the industry. Slowly, quietly, acquiring. Interesting. And I wonder, if that all goes through, I wonder whether Sega will want to do business with SUMO anymore. I just wonder. At the end of the day, Sega Stam is still a Japanese-centered company, and Japan and China really don't like each other that much, especially at the moment. So, if you're not sure what the problem is, look it up online and just enter Japan, China, and the word C, and you'll get the gist of what's going on. But, in much the same way that Sega didn't want to do business with BioWare anymore when BioWare was taken over, do you think they're going to want to do business with SUMO? I'm not entirely sure they would. Anyway, there's a scary story for you. Coming up next, we have 2 last tracks, because it's sign-off time. Yes, I've only got like 5 minutes to go. I'm going to have to cut things short. No! But we're going to have Rayman Legends with Creepy Castle, and then a rock cover of Simon's theme from Castlevania 4 by Friedrich Habetler. Those are your 2. Up next on Radio Sega is the lovely Rexy, with many spooky remixes for you. But until next time on Radio Redux, thank you very much for listening. I'll see you again soon. Bye-bye for now.